For every killer the public fears, there's another they secretly idolize. One wore a doctor's coat, while ending over 200 lives in silence. Another, with a rock star smirk and courtroom swagger, received love letters from the very people he might have murdered. From shadowy figures who vanished without a trace, to monsters who smiled into the cameras, the world of serial killers is split between horror and obsession. Today we're pulling back the most hated and the most loved serial killers of all time. Starting with one of the most hated, Gary Ridgway, born in 1949 and nicknamed the Green River Killer, killed at least 49 confirmed victims between 1982 and 1998. Though he confessed to as many as 7190 women, he targeted vulnerable individuals like prostitutes and runaways, drawing them into his truck under the guise of a casual encounter, and then strangling them, often returning later to revisit the bodies. Ridgway's ability to maintain a seemingly ordinary life made him a figure of public horror. But while co-workers described him as a polite, steady factory worker, a husband, father, dog owner, and churchgoer, beneath that ordinary veneer, police found a meticulous, remorseless killer. Choking is what I did, and I was pretty good at it.
And I choked her to death. Then I took my socks off.
He admitted in court. What ignited public outrage wasn't just the scale, it was the cold precision. In 2003, he confessed that he targeted prostitutes because he hated them and didn't want to pay for sex and believed they wouldn't be missed. He described dumping their bodies in clusters and driving past them, relishing the memory.
I killed so many women, I have a hard time keeping them straight. I wanted to kill as many women I thought were prostitutes as I possibly could. Is that true?
Yes.
The courtroom was silent. One by one, the names of 48 victims echoed through the speakers. Ridgway, sitting still with dead eyes, murmured the same word after each name. Guilty. 48 times. No expression. No regret. Just the chilling repetition of a man who had normalized horror.
As charged in count 1 for the death of Wendy Lee Caulfield.
Guilty.
How do you plead to the charge of aggravated murder in the first degree? As charged in count 2.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Ridgway was finally caught thanks to advanced DNA technology. In exchange for his cooperation locating undiscovered bodies, he avoided the death penalty and received 48 consecutive life sentences in 2003. He didn't just murder women, he shattered society's belief that ordinary people could be trusted. His crimes exposed systemic neglect of vulnerable communities and a justice system that failed those most in need. But not every killer repels us. Some draw us in with a twisted kind of charisma, like the next man. Ted Bundy, one of the most controversial and loved by the people, handsome, articulate, and intelligent, presented himself as the very image of the all-American gentleman. Born in 1946, he studied psychology and law, volunteering in politics while charm dripped from every interview. But beneath that well-groomed facade lurked a calculating predator. Today, Bundy remains one of the most infamous, most loved killers, a paradox born from charisma and manipulation. His charm was lethal. During his Florida murder trials in 1979, courtroom seats overflowed with adoring fans.
Gonna get me next.
But yet you're fascinated by him.
Very, very. Every night when I go to bed, I just, I get very scared. I shut my door and lock him,
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. You try to imagine yourself in his place and to see how he's feeling, looking at the pillows with blood stains and everything, if he really did it or not.
Every day, hundreds of letters poured in, some professing love, others admiration, for a man accused of cold-blooded murder. He even announced his engagement to Carol Ann Boone mid-trial.
Carol, do you want to marry me?
Yes.
And I want to marry you?
Yes.
And I do want to marry you.
He said you did.
She later bore his child, so their twisted bond wasn't just symbolic, it became horrifyingly real. Bundy's story reads like a thriller. One moment, he was calmly flipping pages in a courthouse law library. The next, he leapt from a second-story window, vanishing into the Colorado wilderness. He would later escape again, this time from a jail cell, resuming his killing spree and testing law enforcement's limits. His trial was televised nationwide, his face becoming an unsettling symbol, beautiful and monstrous all at once. What fascinated the public wasn't just his brutality, it was his mastery of disguise. He lured victims using plaster casts or crutches, speaking softly, masking evil behind vulnerability. Even after his execution in 1989, letters didn't cease. Ted damaged women even in death, noted biographer Ann Rule, after receiving dozens of heartfelt notes from distraught admirers. Bundy didn't just kill women, he killed our ability to trust a smile. How could someone so charismatic, so seemingly human, harbor such darkness? His legacy lives on, not only as cautionary tale, but as a reflection of our morbid fascination with charm, entwined with horror. While Bundy seduced the spotlight, another man used his position of trust to operate silently and with far deadlier results. Harold Frederick Shipman, It is the second on our list of the most hated. Born in 1946, was once a trusted British general practitioner until he became one of history's most chilling serial killers. Over more than 2 decades, he murdered at least 215 patients, mostly elderly women, using lethal heroin injections before falsifying death certificates to mask his crimes. What made Shipman especially terrifying wasn't just the scale, but the betrayal. He donned the white coat, symbol of healing, welcoming patients with a soft voice and a steady hand. But behind closed doors, that same hand delivered fatal doses of heroin. One moment he was adjusting a stethoscope, the next he was forging a death certificate. A judge at his sentencing captured the horror. None of your victims realized that yours was not a healing touch. None of them knew that in truth, you had brought her death. Shipman was tried in 2000 for 15 murders, receiving a whole life sentence, life in prison without the possibility of release. Yet investigations revealed his crimes went far beyond, because coroners and police failed to question the unnatural concentration of deaths he certified. The official Shipman inquiry, launched in 2002, concluded he likely killed around 250 patients.
After a police investigation, he was charged, tried and convicted of the murder of 15 of his patients, although the police suspected that he had killed rather more. I identified 218 deaths where I was satisfied that he had killed the patient. There were as well as that, about 60 odd.
Astonishingly, his spree endured because coroners and police failed to question the unnatural concentration of deaths he certified. In January 2004, he was found dead in his cell the day before his 58th birthday after taking his own life. His death did not mark an end, it only intensified calls for reform. The inquiry's findings led to sweeping changes in how deaths are certified and doctors are regulated across the UK. Shipman didn't just steal lives, he shattered the foundation of trust in medicine. In every home where his patients died under his care, he took more than a life. He violated a social covenant, leaving a legacy of fear and systemic overhaul. And yet, even as the world reeled from betrayal, another name surfaced, one spoken not with hatred, but with haunting curiosity. Jeffrey Dahmer. Some of us know him from the Netflix series, and many people have idolized him. Born in 1960, committed 17 murders between 1978 and 1991 in Milwaukee. His crimes involving dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism were grotesque. Yet Dahmer's demeanor during and after arrest presented a disturbing paradox. A man who spoke in unemotional, almost remorseful tones, sparking a strange empathy from parts of the public. In interviews, Dahmer confessed his crimes calmly, acknowledging he couldn't stop his urges and believed he deserved death.
Is it still there, Jeff? Does it ever go away?
In part, no, it never completely goes away. I wish it would go away. I wish there was some way to completely get rid of the compulsive thoughts, the feelings. I'm glad that I'm in a position now where I don't feel the compulsion to do these things. I'm glad that it's over.
Many viewers were unnerved, not just by the crimes, but by the calm, almost introspective tone. His statements didn't excuse his actions, but because of the way he acknowledged his darkness, they opened space for debate. Was Dahmer a monster or a man destroyed by mental illness? Following Netflix's Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, his image surged again in pop culture. TikTok edits and online forums romanticized him, sparking backlash from victims' families who decried the glamorization of horror.
Man, this is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey! Jeffrey! I hate you, motherfucker! I hate you! This is out of control! Don't fuck with me, Jeffrey! I'll kill you, goddammit!
Yet others defended the nuance, suggesting his remorse set him apart. Why is he loved? Not for what he did, but for how he seemed to carry the weight. For some, Dahmer's horror story is one of internal torment, confession, and consequence. He remains a mirror, one that reflects both societal failure and our twisted fascination with killers who, at least on camera, seem sorry. And just when you thought it couldn't get any darker, the next name reminds us that some monsters don't even face consequences. They walk free. Pedro Alonso Lopez, our third candidate hated by the public, born in 1948 in Colombia, confessed to murdering more than 300 girls across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. His victims, often young girls between the ages of 8 and 12, were lured, raped, and murdered. In Ecuador alone, he led authorities to the graves of over 50 victims. Imagine a stretch of quiet countryside, then picture police uncovering grave after grave, each marked by a child's dress or a broken toy half buried in the earth. Known as the Monster of the Andes, Lopez claimed in interviews that he believed he was doing the world a favor, calling his acts cleansing.
No, pues cuando uno se muere, pues pierde uno por total, pierde uno lo que es los sentimientos, su visibilidad de los ojos para ver, y una muerte que uno ya no vuelve ni saber quién es uno, ¿no? Todo queda así en una oscuridad nula.
He once stated he preferred Ecuadorian girls because they were gentle and trusting, a phrase that horrified the world. Lopez was arrested in 1980, convicted of 110 murders in Ecuador, and sentenced to just 16 years. After serving 14, he was deported to Colombia, declared insane, and institutionalized. But in 1998, he was declared sane and released. His current whereabouts remain unknown. Lopez's freedom became a symbol of catastrophic judicial failure. The fact that one of the worst serial killers in history could be set loose triggered outrage across Latin America and beyond. He didn't just kill children, he killed public faith and justice. So much so that his release became a symbol of everything broken in the system, and worst of all, he may still be out there. But while some killers hide behind madness, others wear their evil like a costume and command attention from admirers they should never have had. Richard Ramirez, with a confidence that attracted the admiration of the masses, born in 1960, wreaked havoc on California in the mid-1980s. His crimes included 13 murders, multiple rapes, and a reign of terror marked by satanic rituals and random attacks. Ramirez stood out not only for his cruelty, but for how he embraced evil. In court, dressed in black with pentagrams on his palms, he slowly raised his hand to the jury. Gas rippled through the room as he sneered, "Hail Satan." Yet the courtroom was packed with female admirers. He received hundreds of love letters, some from teenagers, others from professionals. He married a fan while on death row. Why? Some say it was his rock star killer persona, his confidence, mystery, and dark aesthetic. To a niche but vocal group, he became a symbol of rebellion against order and morality. Documentaries, films, and songs immortalized him. He became a cultural archetype, the dangerous bad boy who defied society. But behind the allure was unimaginable suffering. Ramirez's life ended in 2013 due to cancer, but his legacy as a figure both feared and fantasized about lives on. And if Ramirez thrived on attention, the next man laughed in the face of justice, turning entire courtrooms into nightmares. Andrei Chikatilo, our fourth most hated killer, a former teacher and father, brutally murdered at least 52 women and children across the Soviet Union from 1978 to 1990. His killings included stabbing, mutilation, cannibalism, and were committed in forests, train stations, and rural paths. What made Chikatilo especially loathed was not just his brutality, but his mockery of justice. He taunted investigators, laughed in court, and showed no remorse. During trial, he had to be caged in the courtroom to protect attendees from his violent outbursts. The Soviet system's failure to catch him earlier, wrongly arresting and even executing innocent suspects, fueled national shame. He was finally apprehended in 1990 and executed in 1994. Chikatilo wasn't just a killer, he was the Soviet Union's waking nightmare, a symbol of madness hiding behind bureaucracy and denial. And yet, what if the most terrifying killer is the one we never caught? The next one is love for his great mystery. The Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s, claiming to have killed 37 people, though only 5 victims have been confirmed. What made him infamous wasn't just the murders, but the ciphers, the coded messages, and the way he taunted police and media. He sent cryptic letters to newspapers, demanded front-page placement, and mocked authorities for failing to catch him. Some of his ciphers were cracked by amateur code breakers, others remain unsolved to this day. No one knows who Zodiac was, and that's part of the allure. Endless documentaries, films, and books speculate about his identity. Online forums still debate every detail. He's been portrayed as a genius villain, an anti-hero, even a misunderstood outcast. His legacy endures not through body count, but because the mystery surrounding his identity made him unforgettable. Unlike others whose faces were known and feared, the Zodiac didn't just vanish, he became legend. But the next man, he didn't vanish. He wanted to be found. He wanted to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Stephen Griffiths, our last most hated candidate, a PhD student in criminology, killed and dismembered at least 3 women in 2009-2010 in Bradford, England. He earned his nickname by using a crossbow to murder 1 victim, an act caught on CCTV, and for his declaration in court, "I am the crossbow cannibal." His apartment revealed books on serial killers, Satanism, and psychopathy. He recorded parts of his crimes, he smiled at cameras. Griffiths represented the darkest side of academic obsession with evil, someone who didn't just study killers, but aspired to be one. He was sentenced to life without parole in 2010. Griffiths didn't want redemption, he wanted recognition from the darkest corner of infamy, and in doing so became a face of modern horror. Some of these killers lived in plain sight, a doctor, a student, a charming stranger. Some were forgotten, slipping away like ghosts. But all of them share one truth: humanity's capacity for both fascination and revulsion is part of the story. We fear the ones we hate, yet we're drawn to the ones we love. What does that say about us? Tell us in the comments which story shook you the most and which killer's twisted allure disturbed you more. If this dive into the darkest shadows gripped your curiosity, hit subscribe and join us next time, because the line between fear and fascination is thinner than you think.